Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the new Normal America show. Be debating a friend of mine, Jimbob, tonight. I like Jimbob. I think he's a funny guy. I think he's a smart guy. So I'm looking forward to it. Debate's going to start at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. I thought it was 7 p.m., so apologies I'm a little late here, but it was 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Who the hell lives in Mountain Time? MRI. We'll talk about the MRI. But I figured for Jimbob. See, so here's the thing. I'm not like a big time streamer, so I don't get the opportunities to play licensed music and get away with it. But what I can do is play some music in my ear and sing a cappella to you. So let's start off the stream with a banger, a little song I have for Jimbob. What do you say? It's going to be a cappella to you. We'll see if anyone knows what this is from. I can hear what you're thinking, all your doubts and fears. And if you look in my eyes in time, you'll find the reason I'm here. And in time all things shall pass away. In time you may come back someday to live once more and die once more. But in time your time will be no more. I wrote that song for you, Jimbob. I'm going to sing it at your funeral. Ah! Voice of an angel. I wish. If everybody's seen the movie, thank you, Cowboys. I appreciate it. So you ever see the movie The Punisher with Thomas Jane? It's my favorite scene in the movie. This hitman comes in. His name's Harry Heck. He comes in with an acoustic guitar to the diner and just sings that song to the Punisher. Says, I wrote that song for you. I'm going to sing it at your funeral. I watched that movie the other day and was like, I need an excuse to sing that song on stream. So there you go. It should be a fun little debate. In some ways, I'm not looking forward to it. I'll give you the specific reason why. But as far as how my MRI went, I've never had an MRI. So 7:30 this morning, I'm in there filling out, my intake forms, and got in there probably around 8 o'clock for the MRI. It ended at about 8:45, so about 45 minutes. It didn't bother me at all. I know some people that said it kind of weirds you out. It's like weird sounds, sort of claustrophobic, but I just kind of sat there, closed my eyes, half dozed off. I thought it was fine. So didn't really bother me. They gave me a disc with the imaging, so I was like, ooh, I'm going to go home to my computer and it's a CD. I'm going to put the CD in and I'll see. I now realize my PC that I built doesn't have a CD-ROM drive. So they sent the image over to my doctor. My doctor called and said, yeah, it's as suspected, a herniated disc. So now I'm going to follow up with an orthopedic place next Friday. So that'll be the next step. So standing pat until next Friday, but good to get the image done, and we'll go from there. So, but the procedure was painless, and I didn't have to go to the bathroom. I made it through. So good stuff. Like I said, this debate's supposed to start in 45 minutes. It'll be a long show tonight, I guess. Andrew, I believe Andrew Wilson's moderating it. He said expect 3 hours. So this will be me versus the world debate is what it's going to be. Because it's going to be me debating Jimbob for 2 hours. And then it's going to be Rachel Wilson calling in when it's audience calls. And everyone who's fans of the Crucible calling in to grill me. I say go for it. I'm all for it. Let's do it. Get it all off their chest. 3 hours. MRI went fine. It went pretty good. So, this is almost an issue that I consider, normally the debates are 2 hours and then usually an hour audience interaction, which I expect. Yeah, so it's usually, I agree. 3 hours is not an abnormal time in that sense. Just, yes, of course I'm taking the side that women... Now, that's not the question. It's not should women vote. It is, should women have the right to vote? And there's a difference. You see, as someone who's small government minded, I think there's all sorts of things that you should or shouldn't do. But saying the government has the right to tell you you can't do it is different. Yeah, it'll be on the Crucible as well. I think that it's a terrible argument that women shouldn't vote. I think it's terrible. I think that it's terrible. My general feeling is that you shouldn't disenfranchise people for a voice in how the direction of the country's ran based on an immutable characteristic. Now, I have problems with other barriers to voting, though I do think there needs to be some sort of barriers to voting. Myself, I say that barrier pragmatically and doably right now should be same-day voting. If you're incapable, unless you have a medical condition that you need an absentee ballot or you're like serving in the military, that I understand. That's always been the way it has been. But if you cannot find your way to a polling station on election day, then I believe you have not meeting the bare minimum barrier to participating in our elections. That's my opinion. So I say there should be some sort of barrier, but I don't think those barriers should be based on immutable characteristics you have no control over. That's my feeling on it. And I think that you get into really dicey territory once you start saying that some people are born with rights that others aren't. When it comes to things. Now, clearly, there are some exceptions that are necessary for that to occur. For example, I don't have a problem when it comes to like laws that would say that having no control of your age is different, though. It's not an immutable characteristic, right? Because it's true that, well, I don't know if it would be immutable. It's true that you don't have control over your age, but everyone has the potential to reach the age when they're allowed to vote. If you say that someone can't vote based on their sex, you are saying no matter what that person ever accomplishes in life, they will never be able to vote, period. Doesn't matter if they reach a certain point in their life. So we have all sorts of laws that make sense based on age, like age of consent laws, or we have laws that say like you can't drive a vehicle until you reach a certain age. Those things are understandable, and they come with sort of a reality of why that's the case, which is we understand that it's sort of fair in the sense that everyone gets a chance to reach a certain age, hypothetically, and there are biological reasons why you don't want 6-year-olds driving cars. Being a convicted felon is not an immutable characteristic. Yeah. They do, Zen. People I take care of with developmental disabilities are informed that they have a right to vote, to register to vote and to vote. They absolutely do. Would I let them? Yeah, I'm thinking my system that it's hard to put. What would you suggest? Putting an IQ limit? Or would you suggest, because you have to ask yourself, who determines these things? This is one of the problems that a lot of people have when they say only certain types of people should be allowed to vote. Well, if you're someone like me that believes in the corruption of the system, it's very easy to see how they'll look at places where I live, like rural America, and say, these people aren't educated or smart enough to vote, so everyone in my town can't vote. Right? Or they'll say, only people of certain wealth could vote. Only property owners could vote. Okay. That screws over the vast majority of the people I know. Maybe you should be able to vote based on how much property you have. Cool. Bill Gates will run all of our elections. But even still, questions to barrier to voting are different than questions to immutable barriers to voting. Why not? Is the argument really here? Is the argument we're making? Are you talking about people with developmental disabilities? If they can vote, why not kids? Because again, We have all sorts of laws that say that children, like that would be like saying, well, then if someone has a developmental disability, they can never consent to sex. Right? Because we have age of consent laws that say children can't consent to sex. And so therefore people with disabilities can't. And if we say people with disabilities can have sex, then you might as well leave kids have sex. No, I don't think it's a good argument. Anywho, we'll get into the debate. All of these things will be talked about, I'm assuming. Ultimately, though, the reason that I'm not excited to have this debate is I think it's a huge red herring. I think it's a dumb thing to talk about, particularly 50 days outside of an election. Yeah, I guess I'm ready for tonight. I think it's incredibly stupid. I put it right up there with Lindsey Graham in 2022, 30 days before an election, being like, yeah, by the way, we should have like a national abortion ban. Why did he do that? Wasn't because there was any chance of that occurring in that election cycle. All it was red meat to cause division, to help coalesce and drive out support for the other side. I think that it's, so I'm not holding back any secrets. To me, the debate is about three areas that I would like to get into. The question of ought. And that question is, without looking at the pragmatic effects of women voting. So, women voting cause, this outcome to happen, cause Democrats to win more, cause abortion to be allowed, blah, 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 blah. Without looking at that, we should look morally at the idea without looking at the pragmatic on the ground of should women have the right to vote. That's number one. Number two, what is the pragmatic effect of women voting? Which is, I think, where Jimbob is going to want to spend a lot of time. And that pragmatic effect could be more they vote more on fear, which leads to terrible policies of open borders, which leads to terrible policies. We can have that discussion. But topic 3, what is the pragmatic effect of discussing banning women from voting? And I think what it does is it harms people on our side that want sort of populist or conservative values to be put in to positions of power, because it is a red meat issue for women. They're going to say, even if I agree with you on all these other things, the vast majority of women that are still going to be able to vote are going to vote against having their right to vote being taken away. Dustin Buck, thanks so much. $2 super chat. Now, I don't know. I like Rachel Wilson. I think she does tremendous work. I know she's heavily invested in the women's suffrage movement being a scam, a huge mistake, all of that. That's fine. We could talk about all of that. I respect Rachel a lot. I like Andrew. I like Jimbob. I'm a fan of the Crucible. I am. But I don't get why this position amongst so many people, including people that follow me, is just it's like, to so many people that watch me, it's like not even a question. It's like, of course women shouldn't have the right to vote. Of course. It's so much like that when I announced this debate on X today, several people were like, oh, cool, Rob's he's going to pretend to think women should have the right to vote. No, there's no pretending. That is my honest, heartfelt position. I'm not here like, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm 100% believe women should have the right to vote. Why is the hypothetical? I could say, sure, if I could snap my fingers, and if I knew through refusing to allow a certain group of people to vote, whether it be women, any other group, and it would literally solve every problem on earth, it was achievable and happen, would I do it? Sure. Robert Whaley, I could say the same to you. If I could snap my fingers and end your life and your entire families and have your family gruesomely tortured in front of you, and it would literally end all pain, would you do it? Would you do it, Robert Whaley? Like, these sort of, I understand the utility of a hypothetical like that, but it is so far beyond. One, there's no way to see in the future that would be the case. Second, there's no way ever to make that happen, that women are going to voluntarily give their right to vote away. Third, there's no good evidence that if we did that all of a sudden we would have some sort of utopia. But sure, I mean, I guess there's utility in saying things like that. No, I'm not saying you said anything offensive. You said if you could snap your finger, right? Didn't you? Or did I get that name wrong? I'm sorry, it was Mr. White, not Robert Whaley. My bad, Robert. But you get the point. Yeah, if you engage in hypotheticals that are like, if you were God and were omniscient and could see everything, and you could pluck one little weed and it would solve every problem, wouldn't you pluck the weed? And that weed happens to be women voting. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, I'll bite the bullet and I'll say that. Yeah, and that's a good point, I think, as well. 1, 2, 3. So, I don't believe that, Pinkerton. What did you do to earn the right to vote? What did men do to earn the right to vote? To me, this is like saying, hey, we saved France's ass in World War II. Did we? Did we do that? I didn't do shit. Dustin Buck, thanks so much for $5. Are you telling me that if you offered a woman the ability to spend endlessly, they wouldn't give up their ability to vote? Not all women, probably the majority of them. But the same would be true of most men. So, parts of the debate that I think that I will be ill prepared for. Here's 2 parts that I think I'll be ill prepared for. I've not done a lot of research into the history of the women's suffrage movement. I don't think that it affects my stance, though, because my stance, particularly on issue 1 and issue 3, the ought women have the right to vote, even if the people that pushed for women to have the right to vote did so for nefarious reasons or, were corrupt or incompetent or whatever, doesn't change my opinion on it. And then the third point is why it will never happen, at least reasonably in our lifetime. The only 2 ways that we end up in a situation where women no longer have the right to vote is, 1, that we have a catastrophe of such epic proportions that women voting, that it'll be the last thing on your mind anyways. We're talking World War III, EMPs being launched, the entire system as we know it being toppled, the United States being totally reformed. That's one possibility. Or second, that there are decades after decades after decades of incredible cultural victories on the part of not just conservatives, but the specific types of conservatives that want women to not have the right to vote. It's going to take a lot to convince a group of people you should no longer have a voice in how our country's ran. Right now you have a voice, and we need you to vote one last time. And that vote is so that you won't vote again. That's not going to happen, barring cultural victory after cultural victory. It's not going to happen. And so when you say this, when you're reaching out to women with great messages, and I think that the Orthodox Christians, people like the Crucible, they have a great message for women. And that is the importance of family, of being in a monogamous relationship, of being a mom, of raising children, of supporting your husband. I think all of those messages are absolutely fantastic and exactly the type of cultural message that we should be pushing to sort of advance our society back in a direction that I think is positive. And I think that actually solves a lot of the problems. If we could get people to stop being as materialistic and to believe in those things, I think that that's great. But when you're convincing women of this that might be looking for answers, and then you say, and by the way, you shouldn't have the right to vote, I think you lose them. Not all of them, but you lose a large portion of them. And so I just think it's a mistake. And I think in elections like this one, where I think there's so many crucial issues such as internet censorship, why is it that a movement like orthodoxy is gaining ground? I think a lot of it has to do to people being able to see the appeal of it online. If Kamala Harris wins and the Democrats win, we're going to see an advancement on censorship, which will regress to a point where it's harder to communicate with people on a global or national scale, which means that ability to have that message culturally will decline. So 50 days from an election, where I would love to be on the Crucible talking about why Kamala Harris is trash, what we could do to get people out to vote, reasons to get out to vote for the best people that we have at this chance, because everything's locked in basically at this point. We're talking about women's right to vote. And to me, I see this occurring all over the place. And I think it's a huge mistake. What were conservatives doing last week or 2 weeks ago? Arguing about who was better, Churchill or Hitler. I don't mind that debate at all, to be honest. But that's what we're going to do on one of the biggest conservative platforms, Tucker Carlson Show. That's what we're going to do 60 days before an election. That's going to be the debate. That's what we're talking about. It's difficult enough because the mainstream media and all of these institutions control the narrative to actually talk about the things that are important. But then when there's all these efforts, like I think Trump made a mistake not correctly identifying who Kamala Harris was in that debate. I think conservatives are making mistakes talking about things like World War II and Churchill versus Hitler right now. I think that debates like this are a mistake. Talking about why we should take away women's right to vote 50 days before an election, where we're going to need a good, healthy portion of women to vote for the side we want. It's just like, what? Like, it's a mistake, so why am I doing it? Because I get to reach a bigger audience and try to convince them not to do it. They're going to talk about it regardless. So now's my chance to tell them it's not a good idea. Thanks so much, John Beer, for the super sticker. $2. Sheba Dog Shaking. Oh, it's a sticker. Thank you. I appreciate it. But I still like Jimbob. I still like Andrew. And that's the other reason I do it, because I respect them. And I respect the Crucible. So, yeah, I don't turn down many debates. I don't. So, we'll do her. Notice how the Democrats and even all their streamers, they're all on message all the time. They're hammering the same message. Like they're all strategizing and coming up with the same thing. They're all talking on point. And it might be garbage, and maybe people are waking up to how garbage it is. I hope so. But you have to admit, it's been effective in the past. Yeah, Jack Sheridan, I don't think lying about what you believe for achievable goals, so for example, having victories on the pro-life movement or affirmative action, is the same as saying, hey, women, none of you should have the right to... What if I could say to you, one of the major problems is we've allowed black people to own homes. Here's some data I could give you on why. All the ills we have is because black people own homes. So you know what we should do 50 days before the election? Let's get Donald Trump and the entire conservative movement to be like, and by the way, vote for us so that we'll eliminate the right for black people to own homes. Good? Would you think that's good strategy going into the election? Would you think that's a good idea? If I was a black person, I would say, I agreed with almost everything they were saying. I'm going to vote against the party that wants to take away my right to own a home. I'm going to say no. That's how many women rightfully will think. Wow, yeah, I was having a difficult time affording groceries and other things. But literally now we have a party that there are so many people in that party that are heavily trying to push it to say, hey, and by the way, no matter how things go, you shouldn't have the right to vote. So vote for us so you don't have the right to vote. And then me pointing that out, it's like, oh, well then Republicans might as well pretend to be pro-choice. Sure. Okay. Thanks so much, Tiki Tack, for the super chat for $20. Good luck, high five. I think that's what you yell at you. Maybe it means something obscene that I don't know. Right. Women voting led to the gender-bending freak shit that we have now. Disagree. I could say domestic farming led to the gender-bending freak shit we have now. There wasn't gender-bending freak shit before we had domestic farming. Therefore, get rid of domestic farming. Yes, it's true that you could take any point in history and say, after that point, gender-bending freak shit happened, therefore we need to get rid of the shit that happened. First time I debated Andrew Wilson, we talked about gay marriage. I said, if I could make a case to you that interracial marriage led to gender-bending freak shit, would you say we should outlaw it? He said, yes, we should. I think that's a huge fucking mistake. It is okay to say, we don't want trans storytellers or drag queen story hour in schools. We don't want the trans agenda in schools. We don't like any of that shit. We're going to vehemently fight against it, without also having to say, and also we need to get rid of women's rights to vote. I think that it's a stupid position, and it is not an intelligent thought to say, but women having the right to vote led to trans shit, therefore we have to advocate to take away women's right to vote, which will ensure that if it ever becomes a serious policy issue, that we'll literally lose every national election, because the electorate will go 65 to 67% women voting for Democrats to 90 to 95% women, which are 51% of the electorate voting for Democrats. And it will bring out rage in them, and it will bring out a voter rush for them like we've never seen. If you're really against women voting, the last thing you should do 50 days before an election is trying to advocate as a serious position women shouldn't have the right to vote. Nothing will make them more enthusiastic to go vote than to vote against the position that they should not be allowed to vote. I'm obviously arguing that women should have the right to vote. Can't do it when women are 50% of the power in our education system. Okay, Jack Sheridan, explain to me. Go ahead, give me the position now. How are you going to stop women from voting? Go ahead. Are you going to do it through the ballot box? So you're going to require 50% of the electorate to vote against their ability to vote. That's your plan? Are you going to do it through force? Is that what you're going to do? Guns? That's what you're going to do? You're going to take over the government. You're going to have a violent revolution, not because of the litany of issues we see, but because women vote. You're going to have a violent, armed revolution. That's what you're going to do? Right. Yeah, sorry, I think that it is a radical, nonsensical position to say that people should take arms up and attack the federal government to stop women from voting. I think that's an insane fucking position. It is actually an insane position. It really is. And you got to be careful saying that shit. I don't mind that you're saying that shit, but you got to be careful saying that for terms of service. You do understand in a platform like this, there are feds that are looking to try to radicalize people. So I just want to say that I vehemently decry anyone who's calling for that sort of violent revolution from the government. I do it all the time. It's not something I'm just saying now. I'm against that sort of violence, and I decry people, and I just want people to be careful before they suggest shit like that. I think that's very dangerous and not a smart thing to do. And it's a good way to end you up January 6th, like those people in solitary confinement. So be careful before you say stuff like that. Adam Dole, $5 super chat. I agree on the optics point, but your debating undermines it. It's also a meta argument. My debating doesn't undermine it. For example, it might undermine it if I had a huge platform compared to the Crucible. I don't. There will probably be 3,000 people watching this. They talk about this all the time on the Crucible. So now I have a chance to talk to people with a very much larger audience to me as to why they shouldn't be talking about things like this in general. If they really, the worst thing you could do if you want to decrease women voting is say that women shouldn't have the right to vote and you want to make it a policy position, but certainly 50 days before the election. So I disagree with that. Setting standards for people, a threshold for something to be passed before people can vote is different because that's not based on an immutable characteristic. So, for example, it would be the equivalent of this. If you have a fire department in your town and you say women aren't allowed to be firefighters, that's probably bad. But if you say you have to pass this rigorous mental and physical fitness test to be a firefighter, and that test excludes 99.9% of all women, that's fine. No problem. But if there's a 0.001 chance that a woman passes it and she does, why should she be held out? Is that what I said, Rabon? So any voice not according to you gets censored. I mean, it's your room, so is that what I said, that it gets censored? Holy fuck, how many left? It's amazing when you start to peel back the onion a little, how many supposed right-wingers are just crybaby fucking lefties at heart? Raban, you a lefty or a righty? You sound like a crybaby lefty. If you're not allowing me to come in here and break terms of service and possibly get your channel shut down, you're censoring us. You just demand that people agree with you, talk to you. We should be allowed to come in and advocate for the killing of U.S. congressmen, and if you don't allow us to do that, you're censoring us. Yeah, go fuck yourself, Rabon. How about that? Why don't you go in the Crucible and start yelling about Jewish people and start yelling the N-word and see what they do? Oh, they're going to ban you for violating terms of service. That's what they're going to do. You're going to then cry, oh, if we don't agree with you, then we get censored. Or better yet, start your own channel. Rabon, here's what you do. Use your real name like me. Thank you so much, Aftershock. I appreciate it. I had this same argument after January 6th, 2020, when people were saying, now's the time to refresh the tree of liberty with the blood of tyrants. Pick up your arms and march on Washington. I said, that's a really bad idea for the following reasons. And secondly, don't say that shit on my channel because you're going to go to prison. Stop saying this shit. You're going to get my channel banned. I don't believe in this shit, and I don't want people that are saying things that are going to get my channel banned for terms of service. They're always looking for an excuse to ban someone like me. In fact, the mere fact I'm having this debate, my friend EOD that streams on Twitch, he actually got banned from Twitch because he was in a chat talking about how women shouldn't have the right to vote, and Twitch banned him for saying that in a chat. It wasn't even a position he had. He was just giving the arguments, and they banned him. So I'm vehemently aware, and I thought about it before I streamed tonight, the mere fact that I'm streaming on Twitch on this topic, even though I'm defending a women's right to vote, is potentially a terms of service violation that will get my Twitch channel removed. But I'm still doing it. And then I have dumb shits like this Rabon guy going, oh, when Rob asked his audience kindly, hey, please, I don't want you to get in legal trouble or to get my channel to violate terms of service by advocating for an armed revolution against our government because you don't want women to vote. And his take is, you're censoring us. That's ridiculous. You're censoring us. You don't allow anyone to disagree. The reason we're enemies is because you're acting like a fucking lefty. Because you're saying that it's censorious to ask people that probably agree with me on many things to not intentionally violate terms of service to get my channel shut down. And you're telling me that that's a mistake on my point. That clearly means that I'm an authoritarian censoring people because I can't handle opinions that differ from mine. You fucking idiots. Well, idiot. I'm a hardcore right-wing guy who also believes that if you ask me not to violate terms of service so your channel doesn't get canceled, that you're censoring me. It's the exact same fucking argument the lefties make. The exact same thing. Oh, Rob banned me from my channel because I came in spamming over and over again. He said he was for free speech. Same fucking argument. So dumb. Rights. Well, Raban, I'll tell you what. You go ahead. You can test the system. Go ahead and talk about violent revolution, how you want to overthrow the government. Here's what I recommend you do. You're right. You're a better person than me. I'm a coward. I'm censorious because I don't want to violate terms of service. So here's what you do. You do like me. Start a stream. Use your real name. Hey, here's my real name. Do things like me. Run for Congress. And then announce on your stream that you want to pick up weapons and violently overthrow the government, and you're going to use weapons to overthrow the government because you don't want women's right to vote. Go ahead. Go ahead and do it. I wish you luck. Good luck. Hell, let me know when you're doing it. I'll make sure to retweet your video. Get as many eyeballs as possible on it, right? That's the way to do it, right? Anywho, so, anyways, the two areas of the debate, I know that Jimbob will be more well-read than me, is this sort of idea of women's suffrage, and then, secondly, religious text, what the Bible speaks to as to women's right to vote. I will fully admit that Jimbob is going to be a vastly superior scholar of the Bible than me. Even though I'm a Christian, I'm a bad one. I'm not well-read. I've read the Bible once or twice in my life, but I don't read it near as much as I should. Yeah, and I guess I get a little heated with this shit, but that sort of shit, you have to understand, I'm constantly fighting getting banned on every platform. And I think I've cultivated an audience that's pretty fucking reasonable, that understands that we have to keep things between the lines. Even if you don't agree with it, you have to keep it between the lines. You can't be advocating for violence. You can't. No, I disagree with that anyways, but even if that in your heart you don't agree with me that you can't do that, or that you're for some sort of violence, you can't say it on my channel, man. You can't. And me warning people like, please don't say that, please. They're already looking for reasons to cancel me. I guess I get a little bug about it when people then say, oh, you're a coward. Dustin Buck says for $5, thank you so much. What is the line that needs to be crossed before action is called for, Rob? Not answering that question. Again, that's bait. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Why do people constantly ask me when it's okay to violently overthrow the government? It's January 6th all over again. And now you can start to see why I didn't want to do this debate. Why I think that this is a distraction. It's just... Dustin Buck, thank you so much for the donation. Do you understand that if I give you any answer that says, here's when it's acceptable for you to pick up weapons and violently overthrow the government, that I'm putting myself at great risk not to only be investigated by the FBI, but to also have my channel dismantled? Just looking for a confirmation that you understand that, Dustin Buck. Got it? Okay, thanks. It is almost never acceptable to try to violently overthrow the government. Sure, you could say I'm an angry guy. That's fine. You're an anonymous guy that says people are censorious for asking people not to call for the violent overthrow of the government because it'll get their channel removed. Oh. Thanks, Imaginarium. Yeah, man, I could use more mods. I don't mind. Can I do an Alex? They're turning the frogs gay! Is that what you want? I love Alex Jones. So, anyways, other than that, I think it'll be a good debate. We'll see where it goes. The other thing I like about it is that Jimbob's a man. Okay. Andrew's a man. I don't give a shit. Like, I'll be hard at them. They'll be hard at me. That's fine. I don't have to worry about hurting their feelings. You don't have to leave. I'm just going hard at you because I thought that you made a point that pissed me off. That's all. You don't have to leave. As long as you're not breaking terms of service, I don't give a shit. You can say you're a dumbass that's censoring people. I don't care. If I feel like yelling at you, I will. An unreasonable man. I would, but I'm actually doing a debate tomorrow night, so take some jabs. Now, here's the other thing. I think Jimbob's a really funny guy, so I'm going to try to win this debate. Listen, the audience is going to be incredibly hostile to me. I would go so far as to say how many people are watching me right now? 160 people on YouTube and Twitch, and then who knows how many on X and Rumble and Kick. I would say that probably 2/3 of my audience disagrees with my position going into this. The Crucible's audience is going to be like 90 to 95% that disagrees with me. They're going to think women shouldn't have the right to vote. But that's fine. All of the callers are going to disagree with me. That's fine. I'm just bringing out, I know what the 19th Amendment says, but I just want to get this specific. That's basically all I need for. So I'm going to try to win this debate. I'm going to be authentic and give my honest opinions on it. But I'm also going to try to be funnier than Jimbob, who I think's a very funny guy. So watch for that. I'm going to try to be funny while I'm doing it. And I'm going to give some jabs to the Crucible audience when they give super chats. My big go-to is going to be like, I don't mind if women vote because I got my wife in order. She does what I tell her. All these weak men out here that are saying, I don't want my wife to vote because I can't control her. I control my wife, which is horseshit. My wife. If my wife hears that, she'll yell at me. But I think it'll be funny to say. Yeah, I'm streaming to YouTube as well. Yeah. So, He's got a good Jordan Peterson impression. If I have to, I'll bring out transpositive Rob. We'll see how that matches the Jordan Peterson. Also, I'm ready to go with, I'm leaning into my lefty persona. Ask me about my pronouns, baby. One other thing to say, another reason that I hate doing debates like this. Well, this particular debate. I like doing debates like this, if I'm honest. I think this topic I don't like, but that's okay. It's something that I think is irksome that I have to deal with. When I do debates like this, I get all these lefties that are like, you're a Nazi, I hate you, you're genocidal, you're a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll debate like someone on gay marriage, or I'll debate Richard Spencer or something like that, where I'm debating someone who's arguably more right-wing than me. And all of a sudden I'll get all these lefties that call me a Nazi and a racist and a piece of shit. All of a sudden they'll privately message me and be like, well, man, great debate. I really like that. Maybe I misjudged you. No, fuck you lefties. I don't want you as my buddies. I don't want you trying to like, oh man, talk me up now. Now I'm not the evil person you thought. Fuck you. I'm not doing it for you. Regardless of my disagreements on this topic with people like Jimbob and Andrew and Rachel Wilson, I respect the shit out of them way more than 99.9% of these lefties. So, just to be clear, yeah, I'll be streaming wherever you're watching me now. The stream's going to continue. So just want to make that clear before we enter this. Don't think, oh, I think Rob's, wrong on this issue. Is he becoming a lefty? No, I assure you not. I like to write down the title of the debate and the date. Then I think it'll be funny to like go through these notebooks years later. Be like, what was I doing 7 years ago on January 12th, 2024? Oh, look at that. I was debating Jimbob on the 19th Amendment. It'll be funny. I'm a big Kamala voter now. All right, let's see if Andrew put the link to... there we go. All right, let's do this. You're going to lose me visually here for a momento. So, sorry I'm ugly. By the way, y'all missed me doing a little acapella at the beginning, those that weren't here. I'm great. I'm just saying. Okay. No, don't mute me. Check. Get my headset on here. I am. I could mute you though if necessary, if we have things to talk about. No problem. All right, audience, I'm gonna put you on hold here, so you're just gonna see a black screen if you don't mind, and I'm gonna mute the audience here, or my mic as well. So I'm here. All right, we're gonna keep it on a black screen here. Oh wait, maybe not. We can. Let's do no chat. And let's do a little bit of this. There you go. What's up? Okay. We good to go. Andrew was just going over the rules of the debate with me. Which, I have to here. Oh, you guys can't see it. I got this Ask Me About My Pronouns notebook because I like it, but it's not the ring binder, and I find it difficult to write in because you have to like bend it back. So maybe the joke's not worth it. I don't know. Well, we'll do our best. Thank you so much. If I missed any super chats, I apologize. 10 Nublet, I see your super chat there. $5. Says this is going to be one for the record books, Rob. Sucks that the debate is between two people I admire. No, that's good. Here's some cash for the sewing machine. Thank you. We got Courtney a sewing machine today, but it looks like there's a minor problem with it. So we ordered a part for it that was pretty cheap. The part was only $6. It was like an end of the bobbin or something because it keeps spinning off. So we'll be all right. No. People you like debating is good. Debate is good. Like, especially if you're a man, right? It's okay to disagree. It's okay to yell and scream at each other. Sometimes that's okay. Totally fine. No problem. Like, that's healthy shit. So I like debating people that I'm friends with or friendly with or that I like. That's preferred to me. This particular topic, I've already explained why it's not my favorite to talk about, particularly 50 days before an election. But, hey, man, I'm game. Probably won't get transpositive Rob because I think this is going to be a very serious debate. I think that this is something that Jimbob and Andrew and Rachel have been chomping at the bit to like sort of debate someone that they don't think's like a complete whack job and someone who's a competent debater about. So I'm pretty sure they want this to be as serious as possible. It doesn't mean I won't get my jabs in to be funny, but I don't think I could do something as crazy as transpositive Rob. I did talk to Andrew. Me and Andrew Wilson will be on the same side tomorrow night, and that'll be debating. We'll be on a panel of 8 people debating who's better for the future, Biden or Trump. Or I'm sorry, Harris or Trump. Biden. He put his video up that it was about NATO. It turns out it's not. Yeah, Hot Poop, I agree. I don't like the topic either, and I think that most people in general agree with me, but not this audience. Of the thousands of people that will be watching tonight, I will be the massive underdog, which is fine by me. That's the way I like it. Now, because the other two on our side, all Drinky Poo, is going to be Gibbs and I think the Turk, and they're both going to agree with us. So, it'll be 4-on-4. Yeah, I agree. 3-on-3. Shit, a 2-on-2 would have been preferable. Hell, a 1-on-1 would have been most preferable to me. Me and Pisco would have been the best. But me and Andrew versus Pisco and Hutch would have been fine. You know. Yeah, Gibbs debates differently than me. I like Gibbs, but yeah. But oh well. It's me, Gibbs, Turk, and Andrew versus Pisco, Hutch. I'm really important and not so erudite. So, the debate is who's better for the future, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. So, Andrew moderating, and Andrew's a great moderator. I'm not worried about it at all. But he certainly disagrees with me on this topic. It's one of the things he talks about a lot. So it'll be interesting to be on the same side as him tomorrow night. He did spell it women's liberation debate. Also, on StreamYards that he uses, you get to have a little subtitle for your name. So, yeah, okay, there my wife tells you the parts she needs. We found a really cool old 1969 to 1972 Singer sewing machine. And I had someone reach out to me and tell me that the old sewing machines are actually better. So we found it at a thrift store, and it needs a gear and bobbin pins. So we're going to try to get that worked out. Believe it or not, as rural of an area I live in, there's so many stores. Like, we don't have a pet store within like 50 minutes of us. Like, there's so many types of stores that they're just not around us. Literally the closest store to our house, it's like within walking distance, probably like half a mile up the road, is a sewing repair machine shop. So that's pretty cool. So I feel like we got help if we can't get it working once these parts come in. I feel like we got just the people to take it to. So it should be cool. Yeah, it's metal. It's heavy as shit. This sewing machine's heavy. It's metal. It's so. And I was told that the newer ones, this is what, you remember Josie, who I did a stream with a couple weeks ago? She actually, she saw my stream last night and reached out, and apparently was a seamstress and has used tons and tons of sewing machines. And her recommendation was to try to get an older model, particularly an older metal one, because she says that the newer ones that are plastic, they just don't have, they got like some neater features that she said you'll probably rarely use, but they break down all the time because they're all plastic and they're really expensive to work on. Whereas the old metal ones last like decades and decades. They're very consistent. So, I don't feel like we're cheaping out. I feel like we're actually getting something that for what Courtney wants to use it for will actually be. Have I ever watched Metalocalypse and Aqua Teen? Absolutely. Huge fan of both of those shows, particularly Metalocalypse. Yeah, Josie was the name of the woman. I didn't carry it up the stairs. I made my wife. I'm a man. She does what I tell her. I said, carry it up the stairs. So, yeah. Plus, I don't think it's going to be moved around much, Nico. It's kind of stationary. She wants to lug it around. That's on her. I got this MRI today, and I was super excited to see the imaging, and then being unable to do so because my computer didn't have a CD-ROM drive, I was bummed. Because I'm the kind of weirdo that wants to see that. I want to see my own X-rays and my own MRI so I could go, look at that. Look what's going on there. Super chat. Nate Diaz. Are you the Nate Diaz? I respect you, Rob, but it's a hard sell to insist that the gender that only takes and sacrifices nothing should have the same voting rights as men. You mean the sex? I disagree, though. But we'll see. Perhaps I'll be able to convince you, though most likely not. I think this is a topic that if you think women shouldn't have the right to vote, it's going to be really, 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 really difficult to convince you that they ought to have the right to vote. Because your mind's probably pretty made up anyways. But hopefully I can convince you that because there is no realistic path to achieving that anytime in the near future, that for the sake of winning elections for all sorts of things in the meantime that are important, such as abortion, being pro-life, ending censorship online, ending lawfare against conservatives, ending the massive war state and military-industrial complex, to win elections to hopefully affect those sorts of things, that this isn't an issue that we should be pushing heavily. So if I can't convince you morally or deontologically, hopefully I can convince you practically or utilitarian-y. So we'll see. Can the Amish vote? Absolutely the Amish could vote. We happen to live in Amish country, so we have none of our immediate neighbors are Amish. We used to live where our immediate neighbors are Amish. Now we're about 15 minutes where we used to live, and there's Amish all around, though, like on the road we're at. So, yeah, they absolutely could vote. There you go, Goldfinger. Mr. Simp. That's who I am now. Gotta love it. I'm on a roll this week, right? Gave my honest opinion that I thought Trump lost the debate and had a bunch of people that normally support me saying that I'm a sellout. And now I'm a simp because I think women should have the right to vote. How's it feel to be the most important state for the election? How are the vibes here? Well, seeing as how I'm in the middle, you have to understand Pennsylvania is basically two states. You got Philadelphia, Erie, and Pittsburgh, which are blue. And then you got the rest of the state, which are deep red. People joke and call where I live Pennsyltucky because it's like, that's what it is. We're rednecks. It's like rural, it's Appalachia, man. That's what it is here. But we're swamped by Philly and Pittsburgh. So how are the vibes here? Well, I do live in a college town, so you see the occasional, college professor or college student with a Harris sign. Humorously, most of them are Biden-Harris signs that they just bent over so you can't see the word Biden anymore, which I think is funny. But But it's overwhelmingly Trump supporters here, overwhelmingly. So the vibes are, oh yeah, like people are enthused. I think particularly since COVID, there are a lot of people that used to not be interested in voting that are, that are enthusiastic to vote. One of the reasons I'm so pessimistic that Trump will win, I think Trump has a 5 to 7% chance of winning the presidency. He does not have a good chance of winning Pennsylvania at all. No, I don't think Pennsylvania will flip for one simple reason. Because the same losers that allowed the law to be changed in 2020 to allow mass mail-in voting and ballot harvesting are still in leadership and have done nothing. They have done nothing. The only hedge against that is Scott Presler. That's it. But the leadership of the Republican Party in Pennsylvania, I fought heavily to get people replaced. I fought heavily to get them to start initiatives to encourage people to ballot harvest, particularly in areas of the state like where I'm at. It fell on deaf ears. There has been no legal challenges that were successful. Everything that was a problem in Pennsylvania in 2020 will continue to be a problem in 2024. They're already laying the groundwork that Pennsylvania will not know who won Pennsylvania the night of the election. It could take weeks. We'll see after show. How many people are registered to vote means nothing. Which ballots are counted means everything. Women should not be made to do anything in addition to men to earn the vote. If your argument wants to be there has to be something that each individual has to do to earn the vote, that's fine. We could talk about that. But it should not be different for men than women. It should not be that all men have carte blanche right to vote, but women have to do something special to obtain the right to vote. I do not agree with that. Did I see your last question? I did not. Repost it. I'm scrolling up and I don't see it. Besides a huge disaster, what circumstances would you give for Andrew or Jimbob to be able to convince you women shouldn't have the right to vote? It'll be very difficult because it's one of the things that is a core belief of mine. I believe in small government. I'm more of a libertarian than a conservative. And so I do not believe that the government should infringe on basic rights that I see, such as the right to vote, for immutable characteristics. So they would somehow have to convince me that my entire foundational beliefs on the belief of small government and liberty is incorrect. That would be very difficult to do over the course of a 3-hour debate. Similarly, it will be very difficult for me to convince people that have more of a Christian populist worldview that think that we should be governed through sort of a Christian ethic, and therefore it's okay for the government to be huge and authoritarian, what I would call authoritarian at times, as long as it's to advance sort of a biblical worldview. It'll be hard for me to convince them that no, they should be against the government, what I would consider overreach and wielding large amounts of power like that. So it's going to be very difficult because this sort of debate is more of a philosophical debate at the core of the values of the people. And this is something that I said often. I think Andrew and Jimbob are good debaters, right? Rachel's a good debater as well. And again, don't be mistaken. I vehemently disagree with them on this, but I respect them. I like them. I also understand that their worldview would probably end up pretty good for me. Like me and my kids will be, and my wife will be just fine under a Christian populist worldview. Like that would be great. That would be fine with us, right? But that's still not at core what I believe the central role of government should be. I think the government should be as limited as possible. I'm a minarchist or a libertarian light. So it's a tough sell to convince me. But I've said this quite often. I said, I think that the issues in this country are so dire on so many issues that there's a group of people that could come together. There are conservatives, there are paleo-conservatives, there are minarchists, there are libertarians, there are constitutionalists. Like all of these groups, you know, the MAGA people, populists, they are all heading in the same direction. Things are so radical with this pro-establishment corrupt direction that we all need to head in the same direction. Somewhere in the future, we will diverge. But we're nowhere near that. The threat we're facing, imagine it's almost like a battle, like a war. If your enemy, if you're playing Risk, and one of the players controls 80% of the board, the three of you that are playing against them maybe say, we all need to fight back or we're all going to lose. But if you take over that person that had 80%, then maybe you start bickering amongst yourselves. Should women have the right to vote on what? Rob, no camera. I don't get it. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Why am I no camera? Because this is the screen from the Crucible. I'm in their back room, so I'm waiting for them to... And because I'm a huge moron when it comes to technology, I don't know how to split my camera. So if I shut my camera off on the Crucible in the back room here and then turn it on my channel, when Andrew and Jimbob are ready, I'll then have to shut my camera off on my channel and then re-upload this StreamYard link and resubmit my camera and all of that stuff. So... But we're waiting for Jimbob. That's what's going on. Hi, Rob. What is your opinion on my voice? I like your voice. I do not like my voice. I think I have a whiny, pitched voice. But I think it's somewhat unique. People say I sound like Snot from American Dad, which I'm fine with. I think that guy's a hilarious actor. No backwards. I could be, because I'm the lefty. Waiting on the guy with two first names. Normally, you're always waiting on the biggest streamer that's left-leaning. So maybe Jimbob's taking a turn. Maybe he's going to come on and say, of course, only women should have the right to vote. I got a radio voice. That's a nice way of saying I'm ugly, which I don't disagree with. I really don't give a shit when anyone thinks about my looks. With one exception. Like, you don't want to be such a freakish-looking person that people are cowering in fear of you. That would not be good. But I don't care if people think I'm handsome, except my wife. As long as Mrs. Nor likes me, I'm perfectly fine. And she seems to be okay with me. So good enough for me. It's like this one Curb Your Enthusiasm sketch plot I like. He's wearing this ridiculous sun hat to the beach. It's like a women's hat. And his buddy's like, what are you doing? You can't wear that hat. It's a woman's hat. He's like, I don't give a shit. I'm married. I'm not trying to pick anyone up. That's how I feel. His camera's bugged. Oh, okay. Well, whatever. I'm not upset. He'll get here when he gets here. Are they streaming live on the Crucible? No. Okay. What are they saying about me, though? But this Crucible audience is going to be hot against me. They're going to be hot. They're going to say that they always knew I was a piece of shit, that I was a fake right-winger, and blah, blah, blah. It'll be fun. Zen's forehead for $5. Good luck on your back in the debate. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's nice to hear from you, Zen's forehead. The superior Zen. Wicked Wally. The actual dad joke champion. Nice to hear from you, man. I hope everything's going good with you, Wally. Haven't talked in a while. Oh, yeah, I don't mind all drinky poo. Yeah, they usually really like me. They'll hate me today, though. That's okay. I like that. And I hope they call in and they're very rude to me so I can be rude back to them. That's fun. I like that. Now, they're not streaming yet, so... they are going to call me that. You want to know something about that word, S-I-M-P? This is going to sound ridiculous, but I truly mean this. I truly mean this. I think that's against terms of service, that word on Twitch. Believe it or not. Now, I'm not going to, if I say it, I say it. Or if it gets said in the screen, it gets said in the screen. But that's how ridiculous some of these terms of service are. But, oh, no, Charles, they vehemently believe women shouldn't have the right to vote. They believe it so much that they think many of their audience, because they like me, think that I'm just doing a theoretical exercise. They're so confident that women, and so adamant that women shouldn't have the right to vote, that they think because I'm a right-winger, clearly I believe that as well. So I'll have to let them know, like, no, I'm not joking. I'm not just saying a position to argue. I truly believe women should have the right to vote. But that's okay. There he is. Yeah, I heard he's having tech issues. Forfeit. Oh, sorry, you couldn't hear Andrew there, but he just said technical issues. So, forfeit. Jimbob knew. He knew the SmackDown was coming. No, you can't hear Andrew because when I'm backstage, I don't like to have the audio open just in case. So, right, wife. You can't hear Andrew. Why don't you stick to the sewing machine, Courtney? Courtney's going to kill me if I take the I'm in charge of my lady too far. Listen, I don't have a problem